Richard Turnbull, his wife Sarah and their 3-year-old son Gregory have now been in Tuscany for a year. They gave up their life in Yorkshire to make a new one, harvesting olives and taking in paying guests. But that's meant giving up their beautifully renovated farmhouse and moving into a glorified shed next door.
Now it all looks beautiful in there. I was a bit miffed.
Despite these sacrifices, money's still tight. On top of that, Sarah's pregnant with their second child. The work's relentless and cracks are appearing in their new life.
Why aren't they planting?
Dazzled by the prospect of EU farming grants, they're keen to increase their farming credibility by expanding the olive groves and becoming sheep farmers for the very first time.
You, number 11.
Even though the summer's barely got into its stride at Casa del Sole, the heat's already energy-sapping. Both the farmhouse and the chestnut house are rented out, but future business means long hours on the phone. Meanwhile, 15 acres of land don't exactly look after themselves.
It's amazing how it transforms in such a short period of time. Just cutting the grass down, just so you can see the clean lines of the terraces, just makes a world of difference. Looks great.
The promise of a cold marble worktop has lured Sarah back to the farmhouse.
Oh, it's really, really cool. We've got guests in, but they're out for the day. So I've nipped in and been very cheeky and basking in their cold house.
But the sun can be a friend as well as an enemy. 2 months ago, Richard and Sarah ordered solar panels to provide all the farm's hot water. But now they've finally arrived, the last thing on anyone's wish list is a steaming hot shower.
The plumbers have supposed to have arrived for the last, well, I'd say probably about 2 weeks. And they haven't arrived, and they haven't arrived, and they haven't arrived. And they kind of got us up to a standard where everything worked, everything functioned. It's just that the solar panels weren't installed properly. So the hot water was still having to come from electric heaters, which wasn't great. But they've now arrived when it's really hot and really uncomfortable for them to work, which is rough justice, but there you go.
The ecologically approved panels should save money and bring an end to the long-running battle waged between the Turnbulls and their antique wood-fired boiler.
This was the only form of getting hot water when we arrived. So it isn't like there's something better than this hiding around the corner, and we did it for a bit of a laugh.
I spent hours on my hands and knees feeding it wood, blowing on the flaming embers, trying to get it to go, and then burning my fingers on it.
And it's tick off the list. One down. One down. 1,000,002 jobs to go.
All they need now is for the sun to keep on shining. But at £3,500, solar panels don't come cheap. To pay the bills, they've got to keep the holiday bookings rolling in.
There's an email I desperately need to reply to.
Sarah can't afford to miss any inquiries.
Oh!
So this is the worst possible time for the computer, the nerve centre of the business, inexplicably to die.
Richard, why isn't it working? What's not plugged in where? It's plugged in that corner.
But none of the plugs are plugged in.
Why aren't they plugged in? Thank you. All you had to say was I've unplugged it, Sarah.
The heat's getting to everybody. The only hope is that it's getting to the solar panels too. If it isn't, they're in trouble. The bad old boiler's gone, the sun is all they have.
Can I just make sure your hot water is hot?
Yeah, of course you
So
can,
just
yeah.
try in the kitchen. Warming. Oh, yes. Oh. Perfect. Perfect. In fact, if I hold my hand in there much longer, it's going to scald me. Excellent.
excellent hot water everywhere for everybody from the sun, which is just brilliant. That's so good. No more lighting fires on hot days. No more plugging in the electric to have a shower when it's been there all the time, and now we've tapped into it. It's just fantastic. It's really, really good. It's a big achievement for us. Is this a big tick off the list of being eco-friendly and saving money at the same time. Brilliant.
Like the thousands of Brits moving abroad every year, part of the dream is a simple life living off the land. An EU farming grant could net Richard and Sarah an extra £15,000, but understanding the criteria needed is like rocket science. Richard and Sarah are doing their best to maximise their chances.
Although there is enough work here to keep me and Sarah busy full time, there's criteria that you've got to meet. Having certain things on your land is deemed to mean X amount of days to do that, X amount of days to do something else, and we haven't got enough days at the moment to reach the criteria.
I think we could fit at least
Well, there's four
two,
down
three,
there, isn't there?
four. There's 5 spaces and there's terraces there that you could fit olives on.
According to the bureaucrats' equations, more olive trees will mean more working days, which means more chance of getting their hands on EU cash. Another quirk of the EU system is that Sarah must be the sole applicant for the grant, all part of an initiative to encourage women back to the land. Sheep will bring even more Labour Days, as well as free grass cutting and Sunday roasts. Richard and Sarah take a trip to see breeder David Kessler. Ironically, the best sheep for their purposes happens to be an English breed.
This is an Italian Suffolk with quite a lot of pedigree because there's red in. So what you are really looking for are the Suffolks with a red number on. Okay. The advantage of these lambs compared to Italian lambs is that there's much more meat on it.
Yes.
They well, quite honestly, they're ugly, but they've got meat.
Is that the same as this? You don't care about pedigree, you just want...
No, I want it cute.
Cute.
With no previous knowledge of livestock, Richard and Sarah think it's looks that count.
I quite like 138.
Okay, the 138. I would choose the 137.
Maybe 137 as well, because
Yeah.
they look very similar.
Yeah.
Sarah makes an attempt to look professional.
Excuse me, and all
If
that.
you feel a hard lump, you just say you don't want it.
I'm really happy we've chosen them. They are fairly beautiful girls, not too old. They've all produced lambs this year, which is a good sign because you need ones that are going to produce lambs, otherwise you don't get your freezer stock. I'm not too sure whether we'll now think about having a male or not. I mean, I think we should, but it's whether we can afford one, to be quite honest.
He sold, this is 1 year and 4 months, 115 kilos. These are all the young rams of this year. I have still 3 or 4 young rams not sold.
The ram is the time-honoured method for turning a small flock into a big flock. EU arithmetic says that a big flock means lots of working days and more chance of the subsidy.
They have a lot of meat on them, they do the jobs that we want them to do, they eat grass and then they produce babies and then we eat them. I mean, they are beautiful. I know it sounds a bit odd for me to get excited about sheep. Well, it's like being in England, really, isn't it? It's not that I miss it or anything.
The EU also requires subsidy applicants to at least look as if they know what they're doing. A year ago, Sarah's agricultural experience didn't go much beyond watering the garden. To help bridge the credibility gap, she's turned to her friend and neighbour, Liberty Mallard, who's been a qualified EU farmer for over a year.
If your tree suddenly has this growth on it, what is it? What must you do? And you think, you must take it off, you must bathe.
Sarah will need to know about her staple crop, olives, and the basics of farm machinery.
Brilliant. And they're normally diesel, aren't they? So normally you will have
Normally
to
have a coil or a
wait.
light.
And, okay, no,
Yeah, it'll either become red when it's ready or go off, whichever it is.
Yeah, it'll do something.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you want to go off slowly at first, just to get a feel, put it down into first, that's it. Yeah, and put on the accelerator.
Do I need acceleration to
You
start
will,
with?
you will do. It's quite gentle, the accelerator. That's it.
Ah, this is a good speed.
Yeah.
I didn't actually think that I would be doing this kind of thing at all. Certainly if there were tractors to be driven, I expected it to be Richard, and he expected it to be him too. And he's rather miffed actually that I get to play with all the big toys.
Turn the opposite way to where you want the trailer to go. So the tractor follows it as much as possible when you're trying to straighten up. That's it. Oh no, that's it, that's the right way, just keep going.
Reverse parking the family car on the streets of Leeds was never this much fun.
Hey, you're in the box, you're in the box.
That's good enough for an Italian.
Yeah, very much.
In these first weeks of summer, Richard and Sarah's goals are set. Trying to be successful farmers, trying to run a successful holiday business, and most of all, trying not to let the strain of living and working together ruin their relationship.
I said I wanted it 2 inches lower so that you could open and close the window. You said, no, don't worry about it.
Last year, the olive groves at Casa del Sole generated £3,000, but it could have been more.
I had it that time.
A successful harvest depends on good husbandry throughout the year. Richard and Sarah, distracted by the holiday business, have been shamefully negligent. The trees are at least a month overdue for their annual nip and tuck.
Because we're so late in the day, really, what we're doing is getting all the dead wood out, all the wood that's either dead or no good, really, out from in the tree to get as much light through as possible. Just anything's better than nothing at this stage.
The trees can be salvaged if you know what you're doing. Since Richard doesn't really know what he's doing, he's begged help from his neighbour, Luciano.
It's getting the balance between cutting the tree enough to make it a productive tree, but also then looking to the future where he's taking some ones out that, like here, he's trained this branch already here, but in future we'll cut this one here, this will just go. But it's knowing, you know, what he's cutting now will create the tree of the future, the shape of the tree of the future, and that is just mind-blowing. We've sort of flew by the seat of our pants in the first year, and we were lucky, we did all right. But there's potentially a lot of money in these trees, and we need to be maximising that as quickly as possible.
To help maximise the profits and to qualify for that tempting EU grant, Richard's been advised to plant a further 100 trees. That's a lot of trees, so to begin with, he's opted for a more manageable number. He's beginning with 6.
We want this to be a going concern in the eyes of the authorities, but we also want it to be a going concern for us. Our future is here on this olive grove, and we want to see bits that we've made our own, we've created.
With proper maintenance and care, the 100 new trees, once they start fruiting, should annually earn twice what Richard paid for them.
The income from the olive harvest, when you factor in the amount of time it takes to earn that money, it's not a huge amount of money for the hours that it takes. In fact, it's a very small amount of money for the time and the effort that it takes to pick those olives. However, we came here to tend the olives, to grow fruit, to grow vegetables. We haven't got the high standard of living that we had in England anymore. We didn't want to be in England. We're in Italy on an olive farm, and that's what we came to do.
Even in Italy, the sun doesn't shine all the time. The doughty guests, undeterred by the downpour, have gone off sightseeing. The aim of Richard and Sarah's new life was to spend more time simply being together, but this is the first chance they've had in weeks. Echoes of a proper British summer inspire Richard to cook up a proper British breakfast.
There's one or two things that I'm not bad at, and fried egg sandwiches and sausage is one of them. So.
Salami provides an almost acceptable stand-in for sausages, but for other key ingredients there is no substitute.
What we really like is a big, thick slice of bacon, isn't it? Bacon butty. Just can't get it.
There's no shortage of fresh eggs, though. Doorstep delivered by their 10 chickens.
We should put some tomato sauce on, please, darling. Just on the top one.
How do I know if it's the top or the bottom?
Because I'll put the egg on the bottom one and then the tomato sauce is on the top one, goes on top of the egg.
Okay.
One day we'll be rich enough to afford a frying pan with a handle on. But for the time being.
All the guests have got frying pans with a handle. Wow. Perfect eggs. Well done, darling.
Saturday is the busiest day of the week at Casa del Sole. Changeover day, when the old guests depart and the new ones arrive. In just 6 hours, rooms have to be cleared, floors washed, bathrooms scrubbed, beds changed. Richard's usually on hand to help, but he's left it to today to build from scratch the extra bed required by the new farmhouse guests.
I need to have this bed hopefully up and functional within the next 3 hours. So the actual putting it together bit needs to start quite sharpish.
To ease the load during her pregnancy, Sarah's hired an Albanian cleaner who speaks no English or Italian.
Cosa? No, in italiano, che cosa?
Her daughter, who speaks a little Italian, but again no English, tries to translate. It all takes up valuable time.
Macchina per pulire.
Back at the carpentry shop, Gregory lends a hand.
I'm cleaning the gator up. Daddy's been chainsawing on it. Because that means I have to clean it up. Daddy will be so proud if I do.
The idea of making this guest bed Tuesday was a great idea. And now it's Saturday afternoon and I've still got my bed to make. It's a struggle.
Decided to do all his sanding straight outside the front door of the farmhouse. So as much as we clean, then it gets dirty again.
Okay, so it's nearly done now.
Nearly done now. Yes.
You're so cynical.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm just worrying about the time.
Don't worry. Trust my sawdust lips that it will be done.
Oh, questi è piccoli.
Sarah's got the wrong sheet. Richard's got the wrong end of the stick.
I've actually measured to the outside edge rather than the inside edge. Il disastro!
Ma, tutto il tempo. All the linen's white. And I have to label all the drawers saying single, double, undersheet, blah, blah, blah. I wash it, I fold it, I iron it, I put it in the drawers. Richard moved it all out and put it in a big pile because he wanted to put his clothes in there. Of course, now everything's all muddled up, and with it all being white, you can't tell what's what. What I want to do to Richard, I can't tell you.
We've lost a log.
Backs are turned. The sighs are getting heavier. Things are shaping up nicely for a marital showdown.
Hello. Okay, I'll let Sarah know. If she hasn't already set off, I'll tell her to get on her way.
The first lot of guests have arrived.
Sarah?
And they're down in the village, waiting to be collected.
Sarah?
Yes!
The lady's down at Esselunga, Cheryl. Is she the Chestnut House or is she up here?
I don't know. Chestnut House, aren't they?
Well, I don't know.
Well, neither do I.
Well, are you going to go get her or do you want me to?
I just have to finish this, all right?
All right,
It's
keys are
10
here.
minutes work.
Now I know.
I'm working out the trick.
I don't know why Richard answered the phone before 4 o'clock, because he knew it would be the people wanting to be picked up. There you go. So I'm finished. I have to go pick them up now. My bit's finished. Richard so hasn't finished. It's untrue. What am I going to do about the bags and everything? About the bags, I can't carry them up.
I'll bring the bags up when they get here.
All this mess. Let's
Go pick them up and get them
not
up here.
deny that it's the biggest bloody mess that you've ever seen.
I don't think they're going to run off down the hill going, oh my God, there's sawdust on the doorstep. Yeah.
Sarah is taxi driver and front of house.
The yoke towel's in there, shower in there. I'm sure you know how to use the toilet and that kind of thing.
Yep. Okay, we cope with that in the
And
box.
upstairs it's fairly straightforward as well. It's just a bed. And
Where's
if there's-
upstairs?
Oh,
Oh, on the
round
side.
the corner. Yeah, there is a bed.
I thought you were still making that for us.
Oh no, it's the other house that's unfortunate enough to be like that.
Richard's masterpiece is finally ready for inspection.
Come and have a look.
How big is that? That is so huge.
This is rustic.
Yeah, I know, Richard, but you've also got to think about practicalities, which you actually have no concept of. How are you going to close the windows?
That's not my department.
I said I wanted it 2 inches lower so that you could open and close the window. You said, no, don't worry about it. Me.
She likes coming up with ideas and then sort of testing me, I think, to see whether I can do it. And then sort of making me do a million other things and saying that the thing that should have been done first should be done within sort of 10 minutes of now. So I think she likes putting the pressure on.
He excels in making my life actually just that little bit more difficult than it has to be.
There's absolutely nothing I could do that would make the situation any better, and I know from experience because I've tried helping, I've tried planning in advance, I've tried saying put your feet up, take it easy, all the things I could think of I've tried. None of them work, so I just sort of, she gets on with her thing and I get on with my thing. And
I think when I've had the baby, it's going to be infinitely more difficult, and I'll have to rely on other people rather than Richard to help.
Next week, as summer progresses, relationship problems pale into insignificance when, with the baby almost due, Sarah discovers giving birth in Italy isn't as simple as she hoped.
I'm really, really scared this time round, and not understanding what's going on doesn't help.
And Richard discovers he's not one of nature's good shepherds.
where's the other one?
In fact, you don't have to wait long. It's coming right up next on 4.